And we will stand up. A little bit different view here. Okay. And we're going to start as we always do with a little shaking, but we're going to put a little spin on it, literally a little spin. But before we start, 2 breaths. Just check in. Notice your baseline state of arrival. And then give a little bounce. And we often, let this be really open-ended, and it always is. We want to really tune into how we're in relationship with the sensation, what it feels like guiding us towards, what our body really needs. And so I want to encourage you to get a little bit of everywhere, but with a little bit of alternating. So sometimes we just kind of stay in symmetry, but do a little bit of kind of alternating. It doesn't have to be the whole time. You might find yourself, just doing one piece of the body, but a little bit of this kind of alternating, and see if you can feel sort of the imprint of some figure eights inside of there. We're going to be playing with some circular spiral figure eight unwinding, but this is how we get our perception and our blood flowing. And just every once in a while, see if you can feel a little alternating. It's easy to do in the shoulders. I wonder if it's possible to do in the hips. It feels a little different. About halfway through our shaking, playing with your orientation to gravity. I was making some faces, letting the air go, letting the arms come up high, maybe some alternating, looking up, maybe even find a way to shake up into the chest, into the armpits, into all the lymph. And then allow for a little spiral. Your arms could still be up if you like. Have a breath on each side. And then let this just slow down a little bit, gradually, little by little. Awesome. And notice what even that short bit of the bounce did for you. And then let's play with figure eights in our joints. So our hands are going to be kind of the easiest way to start. And I find for myself that mirroring seems to make sense in my brain the most. And let's just find a little bit of this weaving feeling as you notice your breath. And add your fingers, so the fingers closing and opening. It could be really soft, or it could be kind of stretching and yawning. And then rewind. What is rewind like? So we're going to see if we can take these figure eights, similar to joint circles, but a little different, into different parts of our body. And it's a little bit of a, let's see what we get, right? So backstroke, that's a figure eight. And it could be any speed. So you could go so slow and your body could follow. You could go fast and small. And see if you can really feel the weaving and where one leads to the other. And then forward. How does that impact your spine? How does it follow through in your arms? Let's try our neck and head. There's lots of ways this could happen. I'm going to imagine that I have sand in my ear. I'm going to let my ear fall, and then my eyes fall, and then look up. And then my other ear fall, and my eyes fall, and then look up. And of course, it's attached to the whole rest of my body. So I can feel that wave following through. If you do have any sensitivity to your gaze, you can make this really small. Keep your eyes more towards the front. And you could also make it really small so it's just in your neck. Figure eights are a good way to help to weave the different planes of motion. because we're never only in one of them. Yeah. And then let it follow through. And see if you can start to feel initiated from the head or maybe the ear. This weaving all the way through the spine. It's not a big motion at all. Right? And then imagine it's coming from your heart. So it's kind of coming up and over and down. If you like to mirror it with your hands, you can. Give it a little stretch. Up and side and down. I'm slightly exaggerating so you can have something to see. It doesn't even have to be that big. And just observe if one side of your figure eight feels more available, more free. See what's there. Still listening to what feels good, to your breath. And let's see if we can follow that from the heart into the pelvis and then find the pelvis leading. It doesn't have to look like mine. And then let's give it a little more direction. So we're going to go around and in and out and around and in. So if I have a light on my belly, it's going to go out and turn and back towards the other leg and out and turn, shift my weight back. Knees soft. It's a little bit more level. Listen to your joints. Let's see if we can reverse. So it's like our hip is clearing a bowl and then shift to your other leg and hug the bowl. And shift to your other leg and go around the bowl. Bend your knees, find your inner belly dancer. 2 more sets. Shake that off a little bit. And then a little bit for our feet. So let's actually find our chair or something just to lean on. So we're going to put some weight on our hands. And then it'll probably feel a bit more like a circle, but we're going to come up onto the toes or up onto the ball of the foot, out to the pinky toe sides, and then down through the feet to the heels, and then up the big toe sides. And just when you come down onto your heels, see if you can feel the choice to go on the outer edge or feel like you could go right in the center. So our foot is a figure eight itself with the bigger lobe on the ball of the foot and the heels, the smaller lobe. Get those ankles warmed up, switch directions. And because it's so small, it's hard to make the eight very obvious. Taking enough weight off so you can really elevate for one more. Maybe pedal it out a little bit. Okay. One more for our hips, one at a time. This could be a balance, or you could hold on for a little bit of support. And we're going to draw a figure eight on the floor. We've done this, but it's been a while, I think. So that the cross point of the eight is near our other foot. And we want to feel the standing leg really strong, but it can still move. See if you can start to feel this walking in place pattern. So if I allow my upper body to just respond to help balance, usually will feel like a walk. And then take your knee up a little bit. And it will be bigger in the front and smaller in the back. Still standing strong on the bottom leg. Again, feel free to hold on. If it's easier to balance with your arms out, you can let them come out. 2 more. And swivel, swivel, swivel to change. So we'll stand strong on the leg that was just moving and draw a figure eight with the cross point near your other foot. Notice your breath, your smile. I'm noticing my arms are also doing figure eights of their own, like in between the two and in one arm. Don't think about it. Just notice how that ripples through. Start to pick it up a little bit. Lots of breath. Bigger in the front, smaller in the back. Ta, ta, ta. 3, 2, and 1. And swivel, swivel. And then we'll take our seat. And if you need to adjust or move anything. So again, we might not have a perfect option, but if you have something that your knees can be slightly lower than your hips, that could be helpful to free your spine. We're going to start with a little spine yawning, we could say. This is inspired by gyrokinesis, gyrotonic, which is like a circular Pilates, we could say. Let's take our hands behind our head and really feel the roundness of your head in your hands. And our elbows are going to feel like they're the leader to scoop up and look up as our head goes back. And just take a little yawn here. If you want to wiggle into it, you can. Keeping the neck long and the back long in the front. And then imagine you're going to get taller as you come back through the center and look down in front of you. So I imagine a big sphere in front of me rather than closing on it. I'm trying to go around it. Let's just take one more of those. Lead with your elbows and pull your head up, yawn, maybe give a little bit of a wiggling in there. And then elongate and round. Awesome. Let's yawn again. And here at the top, I tend to doing a little kayaking in the sky. So I'm going to drop one elbow, other one lifts. As one drops, the other one reaches. As we're looking up, as we're kind of in the arch. So we're trying to move in the thoracic spine and the usually stickier part of our spine, the upper back. Keep your eyes rising. Keep it feeling like you're yawning through your elbow, armpit, spine. And then aim it a little more forward. So if we were up, let's go a little more forward. It can also be very slow. And for extra credit, keep a little pressure of your head into your hands. I'm going to show from the side for a moment. Now that I'm forward, I can also really like dig in the water. Come up. Dig in the water. Come up. Push into your feet to help you dig in the water. And dig in the water. Last 2 sets. Keep reaching on the up and then dig a little lower. Yeah. And one more. Let's find the center. Press your palms to the sky and then just release your arms. So we love spinal extension and flexion, but we're still in one plane. It's so sneaky. So let's see if we can bring a little bit of a curve, which is a piece of the spiral or a piece of the 8. And let's keep our hands resting for a moment. So if we find the center, we lift our heart and then pour your ear sand and drop your eyes round through the center and then arch on the other side. And let's just stay to the side. Imagine we're in a bowl and we're going to come down the bowl. Maybe it's a skate ramp for you. And then arch on the side. And as you come down the bowl, you slightly round a little bit. Drop your head. And then as you come to the side, you arch your chest forward. As we go, how can your spine stay long in all of the degrees of this motion? So every little tiny degree, we're still reaching, elongated. Imagine even beyond your head, you're reaching. One more each side. Let's take our arms, shake them off a little bit. Add to that a little bit. So one arm's going to pull up, one arm's going to reach out, kind of like a bow and arrow that's going sideways, but with a scoop. So there's always a roundedness, like you're in a bubble or you're in a bowl. So as I bend one arm, I'm going to side bend my ribs into that side, get a big stretch, pull my elbow and my fingers away. And then as my hands dip down into my pockets, I'm going to round forward. And I'm going to switch and go to the other side. So our spine is doing something very similar to what we were just doing. And around. And side bend, stretch, elongate, open those ribs, breathe in. And we can soften as we come down. Let's be inhale, yawn. Exhale, relax a little bit. Inhale, yawn. And relax. Inhale, yawn. And relax. One more each side. Spread your fingers. Relax. And yawn. And relax. Whew, find the center. Just have a moment to feel. That might be doing for you. And then let's clasp our hands. Flip the palms. Pull your elbows apart until you feel some tone coming up into the shoulder girdle. And then let's take this up about 45 degrees, so it's a little bit in front rather than just overhead, and circle your torso underneath. So I'm going to keep the traction of my elbows pulling apart, and I'm going to really yawn into my spine, into the ribs, into the side body, into the back body. And play with where you feel your body needs to move the most. So for me, it's really trying to get into the upper back, but for you, it might be a little bit more in the lower back. Go slow enough to really be able to feel what's happening, and if it feels like a good pace. We'll change directions. Keep the traction of your elbows. Oh, lots of breath and maybe even some sound effects. Two more. The last one. Oof, release your arms. Shake them off a little bit. Wide legs. One more for our spine, and then two more on the bench or on the seat. Push from one foot and feel it come through your body, just super small, like you could give a little lean. Find your breath. And then push through your foot and feel like you could let it be a wave that comes out of your ear. And the other foot. So we call this seaweed. We want to find the follow through. And I've been really playing in my own practice that this is often taught, flat to the onlooker. And yeah, the screen is flat, so this might be harder to see. But what if we allow for the turning down as well? So we get out of the flat plane. And then as I'm looking at that one, I turn away. I want to see if you can notice what you feel different from keeping your kind of shoulders more flat to where you're looking, or allowing the lagging shoulder to fall, allowing the lagging shoulder to fall. I noticed that I actually got more connection through my core. I don't know what you might notice. Still long through your spine. Two more sets. And then we're going to get to reverse this. From the top of the head, we're going to dive, much like we did with our ear, and then go up, 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 and dive. So same idea. First, let's stay shoulders more flat to the onlooker. And we still feel this follow through into the foot. So even though we're starting at the head, I use my leg to support. What if I let myself kind of turn down? So I'm not choosing to turn down. It feels like that's where my heart wants to go. My body feels that's the direction I'm going. I want to see where I'm going. And again, I feel a little bit more of my core. Your arms can hang. They can start to explore any movement that feels helpful. 2 more sets. Mhm. Whew. Come on up. Let's just take a moment to be in our breath after all of that weaving and winding. You're welcome to close your eyes. Keep them open if you wish. And imagine the level of your lower ribs. That your next inhale can go to the back of your lower ribs and initiate going back and wide from the back, like you're sprouting some angel wings. And then on your exhale, you gently climb your spine, so gently. And enjoy 3 to 5 more breaths that way. Feeling the lower back ribs widen and spread like wings. Shoulders relaxed, and then the spine gently elongates. 2 more on your own. Relax any extra effort. And then blink open your eyes. So a tiny bit for the legs. Now, this is where you might get crafty with whatever you're sitting on. Looks like we have those who I can see a lot of space here, which is wonderful. What we're going to do is turn to one side. So I'm kind of on the corner here. Turn to one side and then feel this back leg turning in. And we're just going to stay on one side for a little bit. We're going to kind of unwind and then turn and see if you can really dial that back leg in. We can obviously do this also standing. Sometimes it's nice to support the weight. So we can focus on that internal rotation, which is something we can miss a lot of in day-to-day life. Let's do one more on this side and just feel this wrapping in. Awesome. Great. Notice if that did anything. A little tiny bit. And then the other side. Turn, and it's that last unwind easy. A couple times. See if you can keep the rest of your spine upright. Just nothing too effortful, but everything impacts everything else. So sometimes when we're like looking down, we might actually tilt our pelvis, make this turning less wonderful. One more. Oh, great. Let's return to the first side. Stay somewhere where you feel like, okay, I'm turned in. It takes a little work to get there. With your other hand, whatever's the front leg side hand, give some support on your chair. And with the one that's on the same side as your turned in leg, let's scoop up to the opposite diagonal. So if we were following the spiral of the turn in, palm up, have a few breaths where we can find these actions without too much strain or effort. Maybe even looking up. See if you can find a stretch low inside the belly, deep as the psoas. And then release. On the other side. Turning in. And then scooping away from the back leg. Towards the front leg diagonal, looking up. And flooding the breath space. And come on down. So one more time each side, we're going to add a little tiny pulse, like we're going to exit slightly and come back. So we're kind of dialing or ringing into this. I'm going to show from a slightly different angle. I'll show real quick and then we can do it together. Same basic place, but I'm going to feel like, I almost imagine if we had slinkies that we could spiral down to a smaller circle size diameter, spiral up. So if I'm like stretched out my slinky, I'm going to come back in, like everything's going to sort of crunch back in. And then as I reach out, my leg is internally rotating. I'm finding the spiral up. It's the same spiral. And then I'm going to let it come in. We're going to come in on the inhale. And then we're going to go exhale and see what we get. Let's try. So we'll come to the same place we just left on the first side and be maybe 75%. Take a breath in. And then exhale, internally rotate the back leg, scoop up, reach. Inhale, unwind a little bit. So everything kind of just softens its effort and it kind of backs up. Yeah. And then exhale, spiraling all of it, look up. 3 more on your own. Inhale, we get a little vacation. Exhale, your eyes are part of your spine. Go up with your eyes. 2 more. For all the chairs we're going to sit in today. 1 more. Pause in the center and just have a breath. Notice. Other side. So we get right in there with this internal rotation. Scoop up, maybe 70%. We take a breath. And then exhale, ring it and go. Inhale, unwind a little bit. And exhale. 3 more. It is really like wringing out a rag. You can make that unwinding so small as well. Last 2. Last one. Whew. Come on back. Have just a moment to feel. And then let's bring our legs about hips width and we'll end with one spiraling twist. So this one is from gyrokinesis. I love it. It's so fun. So we're going to bring our hands together kind of like a prayer. So the back of the hand comes to the outside of the leg. And I'm going to kind of slide down just a little bit. And then yawn my arm open as I push my knees out and arch. And then swim overhead and back up underneath your arm to go to the other side. So we dive hands outside of the knee. Open the top arm, open your knees, arch and look up. So your arm's in the diagonal. And then swim over the top and round back behind you. It gets better the second time. Hand outside. Open your wing, open your knees, push your knees apart, open your chest, yes. And then swim over as you round back underneath. And other side, we lean forward in a diagonal, open arms to diagonal, push your knees, open your heart, and reach and go under. One more set. big yawning quality. Yeah. And over to stretch the back. And last one to the left. Yeah. And over to stretch the back. And let's stand up. And we can move our seat or stool. My assistant is non-committal today. You might see her kind of running around on the front here. Let's stand with our feet about shoulder width, so a little bit wide, somewhere where we can pivot. We're going to end up on the floor shortly. Before we do, one wonderful unwinding for the arm after getting into our legs. We'll get back to our arm and go to the floor. So I'm going to turn to face one leg. I'm going to let my feet pivot. My knees are soft. My legs know they're going to move. And my back leg arm, so I'm going to try to avoid right and left. Whatever your back leg is, that arm is going to just drop. And with your pinky finger, reach back. It's almost like your friend is grabbing you to take you somewhere, but you're having a conversation. You don't want to leave your conversation. Keep pulling that arm behind you until your arm unwinds and pulls you. So I pretend I don't know where I'm going. And if my arm pulls enough, it's going to spiral in the socket and turn my chest. The tricky thing is if we just say, oh, I'm going to turn my arm and turn my chest. See if you can really feel like you don't know that it's going to happen. Ugh. And the stretching through makes you turn. So let's try that. Slow, like I'm still having this conversation. I reach, and at some point, turns my chest and turns my arm. And now I'm kind of facing that arm. And I'm just going to paint a rainbow because I decide I like rainbows. Paint a rainbow, stretch into the side body, and let that turn me back to where I started. I call this the space mango move because we're reaching up and so high to get a mango in space. Let's try it 3 more times. So less is more. Pinky finger leads. So we're internally rotated. And then as I go back, as I reach a little more, I start to feel that pull on my chest, turn my arm. And then I'm going to follow the arc up, 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 up. There's the space mango moment. And I come on back. 2 more. So we don't know where we're going. That's the hardest part. Yeah. And stretch. Last one. Yeah. Other side. I'm going to turn so you can see. You don't have to, but sometimes it's easier. So we know that our feet can pivot. They're not too far apart. Have an imaginary conversation and drop your back leg side arm. Reach back. When it starts to feel like you can't go anymore, find the spiral into your shoulder that turns your chest, and then reach up to turn yourself back. Lower nice and tall, but fluid. So even if we're elongated, it's not effortful or blocking. If it's making sense, you can also maybe observe this unwinding following through other parts of your body. One more. Breath easy. And you know what? If nothing else, we're getting some new neural pathways. All right, shake it off. We're going to make our way to the floor, which is always an opportunity to figure out how we can very sweetly come up and down. Spiral staircase, asymmetry, sharing, maybe even using the chair. See if you can find something that is shifting your weight, turning somehow, and then find your way all the way onto your back. with a little bit of room around you. All righty. I'm just going to make a little bit more room and take my chair out of the way. All righty. I think this will be simple enough to not have to keep your eyes totally on the screen. But with your feet about hips width apart, take a moment and just let your pelvis rock. So a lot of times we think of our knees dropping, which is wonderful. See if you can just let your pelvis rock, like one hip is getting heavier and the other is getting heavier, just to ground into the floor for a moment. So we could think of this from the knees, but I almost want to feel upstream of that in our pelvis and let our legs be a little bit floppy at first as we drop to one side and let the upper leg sweep around it and then come back. And we're going to drop to the other side, let the upper leg sweep around and come back. How far around? Up to you. Drop, let your toes kind of skim the floor and come back. And how little effort can this be? And we're all different proportions. So this timing and resonance is really personal. If you let yourself pause in the center, you might even be able to feel the little resonant wave of back and forth before you change. Letting gravity and your proportions find the timing. So we're not pushing it. And always, oh, can it feel good to you? Is there a different width of your feet or a different distance from your body? Or maybe even hanging out on the side? We'll do a couple more. Ah. And then at some point, let your legs go long and just take a moment to rest and feel. So let's take our arms out to the side and bring our feet back the same place. So your arms might have been already at the side, but just in case they weren't, I want us to see if we can feel the same movement have some effect in the upper body. And there are lots of ways it could ripple through. There's no wrong way. What I want us to find, so this is where the how is more important than what, is the follow through so that we don't have places that are holding and blocking that follow through in our body. So the example could be that as I fall, I actually feel my arm come overhead a little bit and my upper body turn towards, and then I can come back. That could be one. It could also be the arm coming down by your hip. Let's just explore that for a moment. It could be a little different every time. It depends on where you start and what's all the patterning in your own body. What's your inclination? For me, if my arms are a little below my heart, they tend to go low towards the pelvis. And the tendency is if they go overhead, they turn external rotation. So your palms more facing the ground. Actually, I guess it could happen in both ways, the palm facing the ground. And if it turns down, the thumb turns towards the ground. More internal rotation. Just get curious for a moment. And look for a place that feels like you want to stay there for a few breaths. And you might get there and say, just needs one breath. Ah. If you feel like you're yawning, that's sometimes the nervous system unwinding. And then try again and find another spot. We're having a little free form within the basic leg drop swing. Unchanged. 10 more moments to play here. Either keep flowing or feel places where you feel like, oh, that's an interesting whole body spiral that I can breathe into. The yawns are coming. It's usually a good sign for me. Head heavy. Head likes to roll around too. And if you love it, you can always stay longer. And then when you're feeling complete, let your legs and arms rest and just feel for a moment. And then we'll take our arms up and overhead like a big X for a little spiral twist. So our goal is to find the least effort possible as we bring our left leg slowly towards the right leg. Least effort. When you get to your right leg, you're just going to go over and continue to reach in the bottom diagonal and see if you can feel the pull through your pelvis, through your torso, through your upper body. And then easier for our brain is to keep our arms overhead as that pulls us over to our belly. And then still least effort, bring the same left leg towards the right leg. Even here, how can it be the least effort? The how is more important than the what. The way we're with ourselves is what really helps. Go over your leg, continue to reach in the diagonal, and then feel yourself pour little bit by little bit, segment by segment, back onto your back. Take a breath. If you are comfortable on the floor, the other option than arms staying overhead, which is easier on the brain, but sometimes funky on the shoulders, is to bring them under your chest. But if it feels funky on your brain, don't worry about it for now. We'll take the right leg towards the left leg and the least effort. Notice what's acting in your body to do that. And then cross the right leg, cross the left. And as you reach to the diagonal, if you're going to bring your arms in front of you, the left arm comes in and the right arm comes in. And rest on your belly. You can let your head drop. I'm keeping mine up because if I have a mic. And then right leg towards the left leg, the slowest possible, the simplest possible. And feel the pouring. Let's do this about 2 times more each side. And what I'd like us to be curious about is if we're moving from our brain or big chunks, meaning to say our brain knows where we're going, so we get ahead of ourselves. Or if we feel the follow through start to bring big pieces of the body, like the hip and the torso at the same time. We want to try to differentiate and feel as much articulation as possible for us. And each time gets a little bit more. So if you're not going yet, whenever you're ready, left leg towards the right. Keep it so simple and just watch the response of your tissues. Crossover. Heavy body. It's almost like you lag behind. And then arms overhead, or you can bring them underneath you. And then take a breath on your belly when you get there. Left leg towards the right leg. And really feel inside yourself the flow, the relationship. Often one side is very different, and maybe the coming or the returning is very different. Right leg towards your left. Empty the effort. Cross, reach in the diagonal. One piece after the other. One breath on your belly. And then right leg towards your left leg. Low effort. Lowest effort. Keep checking in every little degree. Least effort. So this last time, if you do find any places that are a little sticky, clunky, or feel like a big stretch, let yourself pause in that little degree and take an extra breath or three as if you could touch that spot with your breath. So last time, I'll start us off, but feel free to pause anywhere along the way. Left leg towards your right leg. Cross. I feel an extra little stretch in my upper chest here, so I'm going to breathe into that. And when I exhale, I'm going to keep going. Rest in between the passes. Start in your own timing. Halfway back, if I'll find a nice psoas stretch, so I'm just going to breathe here. It can be so simple to find the psoas. And then exhale and continue. Second side in your own time. And you might not find places to breathe into. That's fine too. Just keep looking. What else can you find out about yourself along the way? Yeah. So we're going to move to a little guided relaxation. If there's anything else your body needs, listen to that. And if you need any warmth, make sure you are comfortable. You can be laying in a Shavasana position with your legs long and your arms wide. You could be laying on your belly or on your side. There's no rules, but we want to find a place of really letting the muscles go, like they're liquid and they're melting off of the bones. You could imagine the points of contact you have with the floor as puddles that are slowly seeping wider and deeper. And let's imagine that our breath is falling in through the crown of the head and starting to fill the whole of the head. In between the ears and behind the eyes, bring your awareness there. As you soften the surface, the temples, and the eyebrows, and the jaw, and the tongue. Is it possible to relax your earlobes, your teeth? And then imagine the breath from the crown of the head into the throat. Obviously, it's easy to feel it in the throat, but imagine from the head into the space of your throat and your amazing cervical spine, all of the amazing design of our communication systems, both vocal and neurological through the throat, until you feel your awareness drop down to your sternum. Imagine now your breath letting the upper chest going out along the collarbones. What would it be like to breathe into the bones, back into your shoulder blades and the space between them? And then down the right arm. So a breath into your shoulder and your upper arm, your elbow, your forearm, and your wrist and your hand and fingertips. And returning to the chest, down your left arm through your shoulder, breathing, awareness, the feeling of space, and your upper arm, elbow and forearm, wrist and hand and fingertips. And feeling this fullness of the head and the arms and upper chest now continue to fill down through your ribs and your lungs and the back as much as the sides and the front. Relaxing the belly, feel it seep down into your organs. Down into your pelvis. And down through the right leg from your right hip, find a breath. And your right thigh. And the right knee. And lower leg. Can your breath reach all the way down to your ankle and your foot, your heel and your toes? And again, bringing a breath into your pelvis. And down the left leg into your hip. Your thigh, your knee, the lower leg, the ankle, all the way down to your foot and your heel and your toes. And now imagine your breath into the belly as a wave that exhales to your heart. In your mind's eye, feel the inhale draw you down into the belly. And the exhale gently bring your attention back to your heart. Each breath, belly, heart. You're welcome to stay at rest as long as you're comfortable in your own home, of course. Whenever you do choose to come back, but be slow, mindful, and maybe look for any natural figure eights that might exist, or natural arcing pathways, even in the small movements of wiggling your fingers or turning your head. At some point, the arc to come to your side and do a seat, but there's no rush. And then whenever you do come back, a moment to notice how you feel and what moment you're in your day. If you're just starting or if it's a midday, refresh. What's your choice of how to flow into the rest of your day? It's just, if we're upright, you can take a breath, your arms and palms down, feel the grounding. So thank you. And the new moon is, from a living yoga perspective, we sync up with nature. It's just a reminder that we can't keep going, going, going. So if you feel like resting, it's a good reason and time. And here or there, the Vedic astrology for this eclipse and eclipses in general, the suggestion and the guidance is to just take it easy, not get too excited. So if you feel like going within, you can maybe revisit this practice. But have a really wonderful day, y'all. Thank you.